Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and I would seriously prepare yourself for this particular episode because we have a massive episode of people's questions where I answer all the questions that you guys have sent me over the past week, and I have to say, this one might be a record. I won't know until I start editing this video, but we got 18 questions. I cannot recall the last time we had that many questions. We had several newbies. We had a couple questions that definitely stood out. There's a couple of people here who I think I've got the pronunciation for your names right this time because I looked it up online. So yeah, I would be surprised if anyone actually watches this video from beginning to end. If you actually do watch this from beginning to end, please let me know in the comments because I think that's incredible, because editing this is going to be crazy. So starting off with the first question coming from Santiago Scarpino, you want to know, what would I rather play? A game that is ridiculously easy or one that is frustratingly hard but fair? Frustratingly hard but fair. I don't mind games that are hard as long as the reward is worth it. I've played several games that are really difficult, but once I've beaten them, I feel that much better about myself because I overcome a challenge. And I think that's how life works. You know, I don't want to live a life that's, you know, easy and carefree. I want a challenge. I want to struggle because I think that when we struggle in games and in life, that creates character for ourselves, and I think that makes us even better. And I think the same thing for games too. So I will pick hard but fair. Next question comes from Cassidy J. Williams. You want to know, what are my thoughts on Mel Brooks' Star Wars parody film Spaceballs? I really enjoyed that film. I heard rumors like they wanted to do a sequel to that. I'm not really sure how. I mean, like, that was supposed to be like, I guess, based off The Force Awakens. I'm not sure if that's still going through, if they counted that. But as for the film Spaceballs itself, yeah, I absolutely loved it. Next question comes from Daniel Villegas. I think I said that right. Yes. Villegas. Yes. Got that. And you want to know, what is my opinion of maybe possibly ending the Infamous franchise? Well, I think the Infamous franchise is already done. Yeah, I think Sucker Punch, they kind of stated that they didn't want to do another Infamous game. They kind of took it as far as they went. I'm a little bit disappointed how they ended it with Delsin instead of it being Cole, but I think that Cole's ending at the end of 2 was probably a good way to send off the character. I just wish that they had maybe saved that for like a third game. But that's my only kind of nitpick against it. I think that with the ending, the good ending that we got in Second Son, I guess you can't really take it any farther than that. But you know, anything is possible. Next question comes from Silver Leonhardt 2099. You want to know, how powerful do I think that true King Noctis is, at least in comparison to the other protagonists? Okay, if we're talking about true King Noctis after the 10-year period and he has all his magical abilities really pumped up to the max, and I would definitely say he's well within the top 3. I mean, I would say that before the time gap he would be probably in the lower 10s, but after that 10-year gap he easily could be either number 1 or number 2. I'd really have to sit down and think about that, but he absolutely cranks up a number of tiers in my book. The next question comes from a regular of mine, and I think I got your name right this time because I looked it up on pronunciations.com and I think I got it. So here it goes. Lugina 13, please tell me I got it right, because I think the more I say that, maybe I'll get used to it, because I'm really bad with these kind of just really odd names. But you want to know, 1, do I read novels, and if so, if a viewer sent me one, would I read it? Depends on what the novel is. Yes, I do read novels when I have a lot of free time, and I do have a lot of free time at work, and probably not here when I'm working on other videos. But yeah, if someone were to send me one, sure, I don't mind reading it. Yeah, I mean, you know, it can never harm reading a good book. Next question comes from Demetrius Puffer, and you want to know, if/or when the next God of War game comes out, what do I think the setting of the game will be? I think preferably it'll be in the same, like, okay, I expect a time skip, but not by much. I would say give it, maybe take place 5 years after the events of God of War 4. And, you know, I just want to, you know, just have it, I mainly just want them to kind of focus on what Thor is going to do to Kratos and his boy, now that Kratos killed both of his sons. Well, technically he only killed one of his sons, and the other one killed the other son. So yeah, I have no doubt that Thor is going to be the primary antagonist of the next game, no question. And then maybe after that, if they do like a sixth God of War, maybe Odin be like the ultimate final, boss for like this generation of God of War games. Next question comes from the first newbie of the episode, and a really cool name, going by the name of Shadow Dietrich Gaming. Pretty awesome name. You want to know, what are my thoughts on the upcoming Dragon Ball Super Broly film? Well, I'm absolutely going to see it. I'm really curious what they're going to do with the Broly character, because, Broly had, I guess, two and a half prior films that, he didn't really have that much of an interesting backstory, but from everything I've heard, curious what they're going to do with the Broly character. There's rumors that Gogeta is going to make an appearance, which would, that would be an awesome way to bring him in, because I really thought that Gogeta was going to show up in the Tournament of Power. I've heard Vegeta is going to have a significant role, which, Vegeta is my favorite character, so anything involving him and him having more of a presence is always going to be a plus for me. And the animation looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm just curious that it's going to be spoiled for me, because I know that the film is going to come out in Japan like maybe a month and a half before the dub is going to come here, and so I'm hoping that anyone who follows me on Twitter or friends me on Facebook, if you do happen to see the Japanese cut, just don't put any spoilers online, or I'm going to have to stay off of social media for a while until I go see the film. Next question comes from All-Star Gamer Punk, and you want to know, which would I prefer, Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy VII? As much as I love Final Fantasy VI, and I openly do declare that it's the greatest Super Nintendo game ever made, even above Super Mario World, I would definitely pick 7 over 6. And I'd like to clarify one thing. 7, I state this in the comment section of the last video, but 7 is not my favorite game. It's not even my favorite Final Fantasy game. It's just the most important video game I've ever played, because it was that game that established the type of gamer that I have become to this day, which is a story-driven game. But that's why I don't play too many online multiplayer shooter type games, or even multiplayer online games in general. I'm usually a story-focused gamer. I mean, eventually, on occasion I'll play some online, multiplayer games, but it's rare. But I have Final Fantasy VII to thank for that. But again, I would still pick 7 over 6. 7 I think is just a little bit more focused than 6, in my opinion. Next question comes from the next newbie of the episode, going by the name of Brady Burrick. Cool name. And you wanted to know, what would I think about a battle between Virgil and Shishomaru? Who do I think would win, and how cool do I think it would be? At this point, I don't know who would win between that two, because that's really difficult to call. That would make up for a hell of a match. I mean, but I think where this is going is some people would like me to do a matchup. It would be impossible to do all the research and all the breakdowns and everything in like a 15-day period. I think I stated this in the comments. I honestly don't know who would win. I really don't. At least as of today. But I think it would make for one hell of a fight. Going into the next question, going by the name simply known as Nevermore, and you want to know, do I think that Zero, Metal Gear Solid 3, was a good person? Okay, I think you kept to the rules of wanting to be specific. So you said specifically Metal Gear Solid 3, so we're not going to the later games. By the time of Metal Gear Solid 3, do I think Zero was a good person? Absolutely. He was a fantastic commander. He had a lot of funny jokes in the game. This was significantly before the creation of the Patriots, and Zero became power obsessed and almost brought the world to ruin. But if we're talking strictly with Metal Gear Solid 3, yes, I do think Zero was a good person, without question. Next question comes from Marcus Rainan, and you want to know, in terms of, okay, this one's really weird, but going back to your question, in terms of physical strength, who do I think is stronger? Chris Redfield after the events of Resident Evil 6 and 5, or Simba? Okay, the only Simba I know is in The Lion King, so I'm not sure if you're comparing Resident Evil to The Lion King, but that's weird. But if we're going off that, obviously Chris is going to take the win. I can't, I mean, lions are really powerful creatures, but I don't think they're as strong as Chris Redfield. I think, heck, I think that if Simba were to charge at Chris, I think he literally could punch the shit out of Simba and knock his ass out. So, in terms of physical strength, yes, I do think that Chris Redfield is stronger than Simba. But I don't know if you're talking about Simba from The Lion King or Simba from a video game, but that's the only Simba I know. Really confusing. Next question comes from Phantom Sidious. He wants to know, what images do I think were going through Darth Vader's mind when Sidious was killing Luke, which then led to him saving his son? I think in those, you know, the funny thing is that someone did a video of what he might be thinking about, and I absolutely agree with that video. Maybe you can find it online. But he would think back to Padme, he would think about his wife, because he would recognize that he already lost his family. And despite how much of a servant that he's been to Darth Sidious, I think he deep down knows what he was doing was wrong, and he does kind of regret that. I mean, that's the thing about Vader. Like, Vader only continued to do the horrible things he did because he didn't have any other connections, because he had killed all his connections. But now that he realizes that he actually has a family and he has kids now, I don't think he would allow the Emperor to take that away from him too. That would be another insult to him, because Sidious has been just a complete asshole to Vader, and Vader has put up with it. So I think that was like the one time where Vader's just, you know, put his foot down and he says, like, you're not taking another, you're not doing it, you're not taking another thing from me. You've done enough damage. Your ass is heading down the exhaust vent into the main reactor of the Death Star. So yeah, that's what I think he was thinking about in those moments. Next question comes from Hugo Blood 881, and you want to know, if I could remove a weapon from a Final Fantasy game, worst or best weapon, what would it be and why? What weapon would I take out of Final Fantasy? I honestly don't know. I know that a lot of people that I've spoken to when it comes to Final Fantasy weapons, they would say that they would get rid of Squall's Gunblade, and I think that in concept it's a dumb idea, but he has figured out a way to make it work, and I could understand what the idea behind the design of that particular weapon was. I would say that there's a much better Gunblade weapon in another, let's just say, game that has very, very, very small ties to the franchise, which I think is a better interpretation of a Gunblade. But just off the top of my head, I really wouldn't take out anything. Next is Abed, and you want to know, when your Versus series comes to an end, are you going to do another series? Probably not. And just to let you guys know, my battery's dying, so I gotta speed this up. Next question comes from JBat. You want to know, am I surprised by the excellent reviews that Assassin's Creed Odyssey is getting? You know, I'm not really sure what to think about that, but hopefully when I start playing it, I'll enjoy it too. Next question comes from the Batman of Neo Gotham, and you want to know, have I gotten a chance to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey? I haven't, but I haven't played it yet. Next question comes from Good Neutral Evil Chaos. You want to know, in Harry Potter, do I think it would have worked if Harry was in Hufflepuff? No, I do not think so. I think Hermione would be in Ravenclaw. Do I think Draco would join their team? No. And last question, Venom Rules All. You want to know, do I think that Netflix Daredevil would survive Raccoon City? The answer is hell no. There's a lot of monsters that you do not want to go into hand-to-hand combat with. And with that, those are all the questions you guys sent for this episode. I'd like to thank you guys for making this episode possible. I'm sorry for talking so fast, but the camera's about to die. So, if you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday, roughly around noon, for start filming the next episode. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.